Are we about to witness the greatest comeback in sports history? But not by him, rather by his biggest rival by date? Why Lewis Hamilton could surprise everyone in 2026, and which driver even sees him as the biggest beneficiary of the new regulations in this video. He was the biggest disappointment of the 2025 season, after what felt like pure aura farming upon his arrival in Fiorano and promising tests in 2025 in Bahrain. Lewis Hamilton seemed to be exactly at the right place at exactly the right time, ready to lay the foundation for yet another legacy, an 8th world title in red. But after a chaotic race in Melbourne and paradoxically a sensational sprint pole and sprint victory in China, the initial euphoria quickly turned into frustration. The car suddenly became undrivable, operating only within an extreme narrow performance window. Confidence in qualifying faded from session to session, and after the first third of the season, Charles Leclerc began to outright outclass him. Lewis Hamilton no longer looked like a 7-time world champion, but rather like an insecure Red Bull rookie. A driver who seemed to be running out of confidence and answers with every race. So why should this very man be the one to lead a team to the very top in 2026? A team that wasn't even capable of winning races last year. To understand that, we first have to look back to April 2025, the month that was most likely responsible for Ferrari's winless season. Because after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at Jeddah, Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur made the decision to halt development early and shift the entire focus to 2026. An unbelievable statement and an equally massive risk that ultimately cost the team second place in the Constructors' Championship and a huge amount of motivation within the squad. I mean, after all, who inside the team is truly motivated to race a season knowing that for the remaining nearly 20 races there's absolutely nothing left to fight for? And this isn't Haas or Sauber, where every single point is celebrated like a victory. This is Ferrari, a team that missed out on the Constructors' title in 2024 by narrowest of margins and even convinced a 7-time world champion to come and join them. This is truly maximum pressure. And of course, this was reflected on the driver's motivation as well. A Leclerc who has in many ways already sacrificed much of his career for the sake of the Scuderia, and a Hamilton who never truly liked the characteristics of the ground effect cars to begin with. Then having to adapt to a completely new car on top of that, while his race engineers seem to make his life an absolute nightmare at every turn. But all of this will change in 2026. And it starts internally within Hamilton's own environment, because a lot has happened there. Riccardo Adami will no longer be standing behind the pit wall for Lewis Hamilton in 2026. Instead, he will be replaced by Carlo Santi, Kimi Raikkonen's ex-race engineer during his time at Ferrari. And trust me, if you have been Kimi's racing engineer, then you know exactly when to talk and when to stay quiet. Something Adami probably wouldn't have learned even after 10 years. But jokes aside, the race engineer is genuinely one of the most important people for any driver over a race weekend. Good communication helps build a strong setup, maintain clarity in high-pressure race situations, and makes as much workload off the driver as possible. So Max Verstappen even gone so far to say that his race engineer GP stepping away would be directly linked to his own retirement. And yeah, he said that in front of 2026, where he started talking bad about the new regulations. Just to put things into perspective regarding how catastrophic last season must have been for Lewis, especially after working with Peter Bonington for 10 years. So we can safely assume that Hamilton put a lot of thoughts into this move, and it should definitely help make his 2026 races run more smoothly. But it wasn't just Hamilton's immediate surroundings that were refreshed. The entire team around him and Charles has been restructured as well. In 2026, Ferrari will benefit from support from the engineering team of its WEC program, the very group that has dominated endurance racing in recent years and is widely believed to be responsible for Ferrari's current development advantage. Because if there's one engine and one team that stood out during the latest tests, it was Ferrari. I mean, no power unit ran more reliable and no team was faster than Ferrari in Bahrain ahead of the 2026 seasons. I mean, even the 5 best times were all set by Charles Leclerc, which is quite insane. On top of that, the engine is said to have some of the best drivability on the grid, while slow corners and race starts benefit significantly from the smaller turbocharger. A clear performance advantage advantage. From an aerodynamic standpoint, Ferrari pulled off some real magic, most notably with a rear wing element that rotates by 180 degrees for straight line mode and a spoiler positioned behind the exhaust designed to improve airflow around the diffuser area. These are solutions we haven't seen so far from other teams, and judging by long run pace and qualifying simulations, they don't seem to be working that bad. Of course, this needs to put in perspective. Ferrari has had strong preseason testings before, only to be beaten by Red Bull and Mercedes once the season got underway. But they haven't looked this clearly dominant for years, something that also been reflected in the confidence we have seen from multiple team members over the past few days. So even if Ferrari don't end up wiping the floor with everyone in 2026, I'm confident that the season will be significantly stronger than what we saw in 2025. But how exactly can Lewis benefit from this? And why should he be able to beat Leclerc of all people in this very year after being outscored by 86 points last season? The foundation for this assumption lies in the new regulations and the resulting car characteristics, which are completely different from anything we have known since 2017. In short, the 2026 cars are fundamentally driven differently than anything we have seen during the high downforce era of recent years, and that could play directly into Hamilton's hands. In 2026 we will have cars that are significantly more unstable and prone to sliding, but at the same time easier to catch and control at the limit. Hamilton himself described the basic characteristics as more fun to drive. Of course, both he and Verstappen were among the first to complain about how these cars have to be driven because of energy management, but if you would have an engine that allowed drivers to push to the limit every single lap without having to run energy-saving modes, Hamilton would probably choose this generation of Formula 1 cars over the previous one any day of the week in terms of driving. And in terms of overall grip levels, we are likely very close from the cars from 2009 to 2016, an era that was dominated by Hamilton itself. And I'm probably not the only one who thinks this. Alex Albon hinted in an interview on the Williams channel that he also sees Lewis Hamilton back at front in 2026, saying, "I think it's Lewis. I think lighter cars. I think that his style suits these cars a bit more. This feeling of he makes the corners really short and he doesn't focus on exits." And Lewis himself also feels pretty optimistic. Anyone who has seen his recent Instagram post featuring the song "We're Gonna Make It" can tell that he's operating in a complete different mental level compared to the end of 2025. And Lewis himself has also admitted that he lost his way at times during 2025 and that this won't happen again. But what's a final conclusion? Do I really believe in a Lewis Hamilton world title in 2026? Short answer: no. No, I don't think so. Because for that, I think he's unfortunately already past his peak. Drivers like Verstappen, Russell, Norris, Leclerc and Piastri are now right in their prime racing years. Years where you should have kind of advantage compared to a legend who is 41 years old. That said, I would love to be proven wrong, so let me know your opinions in the comments. Write a comment, like this video, follow my channel and ring the bell, and I will see you next time in a different video where we are gonna rank the drivers from world champion to last light, in the next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Ciao.